Hello dear students, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. Today again we are back with another video on class 7 science, that is physical and chemical changes, right? In today's class, let us try to analyze what are physical and chemical changes through some activities instead of just going through the theory, right? In our surroundings, in our day-to-day life, we come across so many changes. Say for example, when the food is kept for 2 days, it will be spoiled, right? And milk, when it is little curd is added to the warm milk, it sets into curd full, right? It changes to curd. This is also a change. Sometimes we heat any iron metal. Otherwise, you might have seen in blacksmith's shop, you might have seen they will have heated that to the red hot. Whatever the iron weapons will be there, they will beat them. Later, they will be changing their shapes, right? Then such changes we write, means we see, right? So these many changes we are seeing in our day-to-day life. And not only these, whenever if we burn, it produces smoke or it becomes something else. Say for example, it changes to ash, right? So like this, so many changes we see here. These changes we are systematically going to study in this class as physical and chemical changes, right? Now coming to what are physical changes. Physical changes means, just let us take for example, if you change that substance, any substance you take, if you bring the change into that, it should retain its some of the properties. Say for example, sugar particle, if it is big one, you break into pieces, small piece you taste and see, that will also be sweet, and big particle will also be sweet. Means it has not lost its original characters, right? So that is a physical change, we can say, if we cut that into pieces. Now this is a paper, right? If you tear the paper into pieces, what happens? Is there any change in the properties of the paper? If we burn this, this will also burn. If you burn this also will burn, right? If you write on this is also used for writing. This can also be used for writing, right? So this is a physical change, right? Means what we did, what did we do here? Just we changed the size of the paper. Means we reduced to two pieces, that one. Next, coming to here, let us take here one ribbon I have taken, magnesium ribbon. If I bend this, what happens? You see here, it is becoming little straight now, right? What is changing here? Shape is changing. We are just changing its shape, right? So sometimes shape may change or size may change. It is what? A physical change, right? Next, coming to ice. If you keep it outside for some time, what happens? It changes to water or not? It melts or not? Yes. Ice melts into water. That is again a physical change, right? It is also a physical change. Next, if you boil the water, what happens? It changes to vapor. That is also what? A physical change, because water is changing to vapor, only that much. But properties of water, even if you condense that water, we can drink it back again, right? That vapors, right? So it has not lost its properties, right? So what we can say, these are what physical changes means. Even if there is change in the state, it is also a physical change, you can say. Next, if there is a change in the color, then also we can say that it is a physical change. How? Color means it comes both in chemical and physical changes, but in physically how it is considered as physical change is, say for example, if you have applied paint on the walls due to rain, wind or whatever it is, if it is washed away, that is physical change, right? For example, even for cloth, something is applied with water, you just washed, it goes. That color, if it changes, that is physical change, right? Same color change, it comes in what? Chemical change also. That we will study when we come to that, right? So what we can say here, a physical change is nothing but if there is a change in color, state or shape or size of a substance, okay, then we can say that it is a physical change, right? This we learnt now. Here let us take one more here example. Here this steel one, if you beat this just like this, if you make it thin plate, if you make like that, this end also, what happens? This is also a physical change. That is just physical change. And you might have seen in our blacksmith shop, what they will do to fix the ring to that bullock cart wheel. What they will do, they will heat it to the red hot, because this ring is small, wheel is bigger, it is difficult to fix. What they will do, they will heat it to the red hot. When they heat it to the red hot, this can be fixed. Immediately they pour the water. What happens, again it becomes small and it fixes tightly to that, right? This means that what, we are just changing its physical property, just physically it is changed, right? These are all what, physical changes. But in this class we are mainly going to focus on very much importantly, that is chemical changes. Four important chemical changes that you are going to learn in this lesson. They are, first one is what, we are taking burning of magnesium wire. What are chemical changes, we must understand them, right? So what are chemical changes? If you take for example, if the food is spoiled, what happens? Its taste changes, right? That is a chemical change. If you smell will also be changed, right? That is a chemical change. Means smell we call in science as odor, right? If there is change in the odor, that is chemical change. If there is change in the taste, that is also a chemical change. And if there is change in the color, that is also a chemical change. Let us take an example here, as we have done earlier in the previous classes. That is, in acids and bases we already tested this. Now you can see here, this is also colorless, this is also colorless, but when we mix, it reacts with the solution. Means indicator, this is reacting with this base. Okay, phenolphthalein is reacting with base, right? So what happened? Color changed. So this change in color is what, chemical change here, right? Yes, any indicator, if it changes color, it is a chemical change, we can say, right? Because there is a reaction between either acid or base with the given indicator, right? So this is a chemical change. Next, coming to, you have to know the complete definition of what first chemical change. If there is change in the properties such as what, change in the odor, taste, color, or state also. If state changes, then also we can say it is a chemical change. If there is change in the temperature, say for example, if you are mixing two things, for example, if you mix sodium hydroxide pellets, if you mix with water, what happens? Heat is generated. That is a chemical change, right? If you burn petrol, it produces smoke, right? What is coming there? Smoke is evolved. There is also chemical change, right? If you are mixing two substances, one more new product is coming, for example, that is also a chemical change, right? These are all what, just chemical changes, right? Examples we can give so many here. Setting of milk into curd, right? Spoiling of the food, it may be. Otherwise, if you take mangoes, when it is unripened mango, it is very much sour in taste, right? Because of chemical changes inside it. After few days it ripens. After it is ripened, you can taste it, it is sweet, it is not sour anymore, right? There is change in the taste. That is what, again a chemical change, right? In the same way, next, its color is also changed. In the beginning it will be green, later it turns to red or yellow color, yellow or orange red, like that, right? So we can say that this is also chemical change, right? So many changes we can come across in our day-to-day life. They are all what, chemical changes. Most of the chemical changes we are coming across, in that few we are going to study in this video particularly. Now let us take the first one, okay? That is burning of magnesium wire in presence of oxygen. It is a chemical change. How it is producing, what it is producing, we are going to learn now first, okay? Okay, now we are going to do an interesting experiment. I hope most of you have already seen. Once again we'll go through this, because we need to understand what is a chemical change. That is burning of magnesium ribbon. I am going to show you in this video, right? First we'll take this one, and before going ahead with this, let us turn off the light, okay? What happens, we'll see, okay, how it burns. Just you can see it is burning with dazzling flame, right? This is burning of what, magnesium wire, means magnesium ribbon. Okay, magnesium ribbon, when it is burnt, it burns with dazzling flame. You should not look at the flame for so long, because it is very much bright light, it may affect our eyes, right? So this is a chemical change. What is coming out here? Ash is coming out, right? This is what, magnesium oxide. That ash is called magnesium oxide, right? Yeah. Okay, now let us go ahead with what that product is formed after burning magnesium ribbon, ash is created, that is white color ash. This is called magnesium oxide. Okay, what I've written here in this equation here, that is magnesium. It is an element. When it reacts with oxygen, means when we are burning, it always reacts with oxygen. Burning means, right? When it is reacting with oxygen, it is giving magnesium oxide. This is new product called ash, what we call. Along with that, generation of smoke will also be there. Smoke is also evolved, right? So this is a new product formed in this reaction. This is called what? Chemical change, we can say. It's so simple. Just taking magnesium ribbon, burning that. If when it is burnt, ash is produced. By producing what? Magnesium reacts with oxygen to form magnesium oxide. This is a chemical change, right? Now let us go ahead with one more interesting experiment, that is activity. What we breathe out, that is carbon dioxide, right? You know that already. We take in air, we use oxygen, and we give out carbon dioxide, right? Now we need to prove this carbon dioxide, whether are we breathing out or not. In order to do that, let us go ahead with this equation first. Here calcium hydroxide, it is a base, as we have studied in case of what? Acids and bases, right? It is a base. Now only this base changes to calcium carbonate, means milky white color comes. When it comes, when there is one more product which combines with this one, which mixes with this, means carbon dioxide has to react with this what? Compound, calcium hydroxide base. When it reacts with carbon dioxide, then only it produces calcium carbonate, right? So we can say that we are breathing out carbon dioxide in case if we are able to turn this with our breath, right? Just by blowing air into this we call it as what? Lime water. Calcium hydroxide is called lime water. How to get it? Very simple. Calcium hydroxide powder you have to take, dissolve in that powder into water, right? Here calcium hydroxide powder, you dissolve that into water. All the calcium hydroxide powder remaining undissolved one settles down, which is mixed with that water. That will be just standing up there, means it is settling down all the powder. Remaining water, just you have to decant slowly and take it. Okay, when it is taken, it will be colorless, as we have prepared already here, right? This is colorless. It is not much milky white. Just I have prepared and kept. Still it is reacting with atmospheric carbon already, right? Carbon dioxide, which is already giving that product, but still we have to change it to milky white color. What happens when we blow what? The air, okay, into that lime water, to which color it changes to, that we'll observe, so that we can understand. You can see the color of liquid, that is lime water, changed to milky white now, right? This indicates that lime water, when it reacts with carbon dioxide, it produces one more product, that is what? Calcium carbonate along with water. This calcium carbonate, when it is suspended in water, it looks like milky white color. Okay, new solid means it is undissolved precipitate, means insoluble one, it settles down later. So that solid is, it is generated there. We call this process as a chemical change. Okay, we call this process as a chemical change, because carbon dioxide, when it reacts with calcium hydroxide, that is base, it produces calcium carbonate and water, right? Calcium carbonate, it is a solid, it settles down at the bottom later, and water will also be there in that, right? This is a chemical change. Next activity of this one, copper sulfate with iron, how it reacts, how it changes. That experiment we can see in the next video. But now we are going ahead with remaining things here. That is rusting of iron. What is rusting of iron? When you keep any iron paste outside, it should be having both moisture in the air. Okay, it should be kept in open air. Then it gets rusted there. Usually during rainy season, vehicles they will get rusted, vehicles parts. Okay, because of what? In rainy season, most of the moisture is present in the air, right? Because rainy season, that is called humidity. Humidity means that is amount of water present in the air. Because of that water vapor and oxygen, iron reacts with those both those. Okay, when it reacts, it produces one product that is called ferric oxide, we say, right? Along with water molecules, that is hydrated one. Means brown color substance is formed on the surface of the iron. That brown color substance, when it is wet, it will not be brown. Later, when it is dry, it changes to brown powder. That is called what? Rust, right? This rusting occurs when there is more humidity in the air, means more water vapor, because it needs both oxygen as well as water. Both are required. Water means not water in the form of moisture it needs. Then only what iron reacts with that to produce hydrated ferric oxide, right? Okay, in today's class we learned what are physical changes, the examples for them, what are chemical changes, and in chemical changes, especially burning of magnesium ribbon in presence of oxygen we learned, right? Next, when carbon dioxide mixes with lime water, what it turns to, that we studied. With the same experiment in the next video, you will see one more setup is there. That also will go in detail. That is, when baking soda is mixed with acetic acid, it produces carbon dioxide there, gas again, okay? That carbon dioxide gas, when it mixes with what? Lime water, again it can turn that lime water into milky. That is what we are going to prove. And along with that we are going to study what is along with that we are going to study the copper sulfate solution. When it reacts with iron, it produces ferrous sulfate solution, along with the liberation of, that is displacement of copper, that we are going to learn in the next video. So see you in the next video.